Welcome to Speak English with Erika and Tony. Today we're covering something incredibly important. And Tony, I have to be honest, my biggest nightmare isn't the emergency itself. It's freezing up and not being able to tell the operator where I am. The thought of being in a panic and not having the right words is terrifying.
Erica, that's a fear that even native speakers have, so you are not alone. And before we dive in, we just want to mention that a shocking 98% of our viewers are not subscribed. If you find this content valuable, please take a moment to subscribe and like the video. It really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. But today, we are going to replace that fear with a plan. In this episode, we will give you what we call the first responder script, the exact order of information you need to give to ensure help arrives as fast as possible, because in an emergency, seconds count.
The most important thing to remember is what I call the big three. 1, your location. 2, the nature of the emergency. And 3, the status of the people involved. But of those three, 1 is more important than all the others, especially in the first 10 seconds of the call. And that is your location.
That's what I was afraid of. Why location first? Wouldn't you want to say, someone is having a heart attack right away?
It's a great question. Here's why. An operator can't send help if they don't know where you are. They are trained to ask 911, what is the address of your emergency, before almost anything else. Once they have a location, they can dispatch a police car, an ambulance, or a fire truck while they continue to talk to you and get more details. Without a location, they can do nothing.
So let's break down how to give your location clearly and effectively. The easiest way is with a street address. My address is 123 Main Street. If you're in an apartment, add the apartment number. My address is 123 Main Street, apartment 4B. Simple, clear, and direct. Make it a habit to know your address perfectly.
Okay, that makes sense for when I'm at home. But what if I'm outside, maybe walking in a park or driving, and I see an accident? I wouldn't know the exact address.
An excellent point. This is where we need more vocabulary. Let's talk about cross streets. Cross streets are the two streets that intersect at a corner. If you're on a street corner, you can say, I am at the corner of Maple Avenue and Oak Street. This gives the operator a precise intersection to send help to. Look for the street signs. They are usually on poles at the corner.
Cross streets? Got it. What if there are no signs, or I'm in a big shopping mall or a huge park?
In that case, we use landmarks. A landmark is a well-known building or object. For example, I am in front of the City Public Library, or I am at the Starbucks on Wilson Boulevard. Inside a mall, you could say, I'm in the City Center Mall on the second floor near the food court. Think of any major business, store, or monument nearby. The operator can often find these in their system. Now let's discuss a very specific and challenging situation, being on a highway. Highways are fast, and addresses don't exist. This is where you need to know about mile markers. Mile markers are small green signs on the side of the highway with a number on them. They tell you how many miles you are from the state line.
I think I've seen those but never paid attention to them. So I would say something like, I'm on Highway 5 near mile marker 42.
Exactly, but you're missing one crucial piece of information, your direction of travel. Are you going northbound, southbound, eastbound, or westbound? An accident on the northbound side of the highway is a completely different location from one on the southbound side. A perfect highway location report would be, I'm on Interstate 95, northbound, near mile marker 152.
Wow, that's incredibly specific. What if I panic and can't find a mile marker?
Another good backup is the last exit you passed. You could say, I am on Highway 101 westbound, and I just passed the exit for Johnson Street. It's less precise than a mile marker, but it gives responders a starting point. So, to recap our first segment, location is always first. Use a street address, cross streets, landmarks, or, on a highway, the road name, direction, and a mile marker.
Tony, this is all fantastic information. But I have to admit, my sense of direction is terrible. I rarely know if I'm going northbound or southbound. What if I can't figure it out? Is there another way? Okay, I understand location is key. Once they know where I am, what's next? My heart is pounding just thinking about it. Now we talk about the problem itself, right?
That's a very common problem, Erika. Not everyone has a built-in compass. If you're unsure, look for clues. Highway numbers often give hints. In the U.S., for example, even-numbered highways like I-90 or Route 66 generally run east-west, while odd-numbered highways like I-5 or I-95 run north-south. It's not a perfect system, but it can be a good guess.
Correct. This is the second of the big three, the nature of the emergency. This is the what happened. But just as importantly, it's how you describe what happened. The specific words you choose can dramatically change the level and speed of the response you get. We are now entering the world of medical emergency keywords.
That's a great tip. What if I'm not on a numbered highway, just a local road? Keywords? What do you mean? An emergency is an emergency, isn't it?
In that case, you can use your phone's map app before you call. Most map apps have a compass that shows your direction of travel. But here's the most important backup plan. If you truly don't know, just say that. Tell the operator, I am on the main highway leaving the city, but I don't know my direction. Then describe what you see. I can see the skyline in my rearview mirror. Any extra detail helps them piece it together. Not to a 911 dispatch system. Operators classify calls based on priority. Certain words signal a life-threatening situation that requires an immediate lights and sirens response. Let's start with the most critical ones. The first category is breathing. If someone is not breathing, or struggling to breathe, or choking, these are top priority phrases.
That's very reassuring. Let's talk more about landmarks. You mentioned malls and libraries. What about massive, confusing places? I'm thinking of a university campus, a huge hospital, or even a multi-story office building. Saying, I'm at the university isn't very helpful, is it?
The next category is consciousness. The key words here are unconscious, unresponsive, or collapsed. This means the person is not awake and cannot be woken up. This is very different from saying someone has fainted, which implies a temporary loss of consciousness from which they have recovered. An excellent and very important scenario. You're right, I am at the university is too vague. In these situations, you need to be a detective and find specific internal landmarks. Look for building names, room numbers, or department signs. For instance, I'm at City University in the Science Building outside room 204. Or I'm in Mercy Hospital in the West Wing on the 3rd floor near the Cardiology Department.
So unconscious is a much more serious word than fainted. That's good to know. So the key is to look for any sign or label that can narrow down the location. What if I'm in a hallway with no signs?
Precisely. Other critical keywords relate to the heart and bleeding. For the heart, phrases like chest pain, clutching his chest, or feels like pressure on his chest are signs of a possible heart attack. For bleeding, you need to specify the severity. He is bleeding heavily or bleeding uncontrollably is a keyword. A small cut is not an emergency, but heavy bleeding is.
Then you describe your path. Tell the operator, I entered the hospital through the main emergency entrance. I took the elevator up to the 3rd floor and I turned left. This gives them a trail to follow. Also, many large buildings have fire alarm pole stations on the wall, and these often have a specific location code written on them. In a true emergency, you can mention that code to the operator.
Let me give you a clear scenario. Imagine you call 911 and say, I need an ambulance. My husband feels sick. This is vague. The operator will have to ask many questions. What kind of sick? Does he have a fever? Is he nauseous? The response may not be urgent. Now, imagine you call and say, I need an ambulance at 123 Main Street. My husband is unconscious and he is not breathing. You've given the location and 2 of the most powerful keywords. An ambulance is being sent before you even finish your sentence. The operator will then immediately start giving you instructions for CPR. That's the difference.
That's a huge difference. What about other common issues like a seizure or a serious fall?
Great questions. If someone is having a seizure, you would say, he is having a seizure. The operator will ask if he has a history of seizures and how long it has been going on. For a fall, the key information is from how high they fell and whether they lost consciousness or have a visible injury, like a bone breaking the skin. Saying he fell and is in a lot of pain is different from he fell from a ladder and is now unconscious.
This all ties into the 3rd of the big 3, status. After you give the location and the nature of the emergency, the operator will ask questions about the person's status. Is he awake? Is he breathing? Your clear answers to these questions, using the key words we've discussed, help them understand the situation fully. So remember, don't say, he's hurt. Be specific. Say, he's bleeding heavily from his arm.
Let's go deeper into some other medical emergencies. A stroke is another common, time-sensitive condition. The challenge is that the person having it might be conscious but confused. So what are the keywords for a stroke? Let's go deeper into some other medical emergencies. A stroke is another common, time-sensitive condition. The challenge is that the person having it might be conscious but confused. So what are the keywords for a stroke?
That's a fantastic and often overlooked question, Erika. Your role isn't over. It just changes. Your job now is to be the best possible source of information for the responders who have just arrived on a very chaotic scene. This is the handoff. For a suspected stroke, emergency services use the acronym FAST. F is for face. Ask the person to smile. Does one side of their face droop? A is for arms. Ask them to raise both arms. Does one arm drift downward? S is for speech. Ask them to repeat a simple sentence. Is their speech slurred or strange? And T is for time. If you see any of these signs, it's time to call 911 immediately. So you can say, my mother's face is drooping and her speech is slurred. These are powerful keywords.
That makes so much sense for medical calls. What about for fires? Or if you think someone is in your house? The vocabulary must be completely different.
Absolutely. While the structure is the same, location, nature, status, the keywords change completely. Let's move on to fire emergencies. Again, what is the very first thing you say?
Location. My address is 555 Oak Avenue. My apartment is on fire.
Perfect. Now for the nature of the emergency.
For fire, there's a big difference between smoke and flames. Saying, "I see smoke" is important, but saying, "I see flames" or "flames are visible" is a much higher priority. It tells the fire department that the fire is active and growing. You could also add details like, "The smoke is black and heavy."
However, the single most important keyword in a fire emergency is trapped. If you tell the operator someone is trapped inside, that elevates the call to the highest possible level of urgency. It launches a rescue operation, not just a firefighting one. So a high-priority call would sound like this. "There's a fire at 555 Oak Avenue. I see heavy black smoke and flames coming from a window on the second floor. My neighbor is trapped inside."
Trapped. I will remember that one. Now, what about police emergencies? The idea of calling because of an intruder is my other great fear.
Let's give you a plan for that fear. For police calls, the keywords focus on the type of crime and the level of threat. For someone in your home, you can use intruder, break-in, or someone is in my house. If there is violence, you'd use words like assault or fight.
Just as trapped is the keyword for fire, the most critical keyword for a police emergency is weapon. If you see a weapon, you must say so. "He has a knife." "I think he has a gun." "He is armed." The phrase "weapon involved" changes the entire police response. They will approach the scene with much more caution and with more officers. Your safety and their safety depend on this information.
Weapon involved. Okay. This is all about giving clear, factual information about the threat level.
Exactly. Let's apply this to a common scenario. A car accident. If you call and say, "There's been a fender bender," that term means a very minor accident, no injuries. Police will treat it as a low priority. You might wait a long time. But if you call and say, "There's been a major collision on Highway 5, northbound at mile marker 42. A car is overturned and someone is trapped inside and unconscious." Now you have a multi-agency response: police for traffic control, fire for extraction, and an ambulance for the medical emergency. Your words created that response.
Tony, let's circle back to fires for a moment. What if the fire is not in a building? For instance, a car fire on the highway or a wildfire in a park. How do we describe that location and situation? In these stressful situations, the operator will often say, "Stay on the line with me." Why is that so important?
Excellent question. For a car fire, you use the same highway location rules: road name, direction, and nearest mile marker or exit. But you also add, "The car is on the right shoulder," or "in the middle lane." For a wildfire, location is difficult. You use the park name, the trail name if you know it, and major landmarks. I'm in Redwood National Park on the Eagle Creek Trail about a mile from the northern entrance. Most importantly, you describe the fire's behavior. The fire is spreading quickly uphill to the north. This helps them plan the response. There are three main reasons. First, the situation can change. The operator needs real-time updates. Is the fire spreading? Did the intruder move to a different room? Did the patient stop breathing? Second, they can provide life-saving instructions like how to do CPR, how to control bleeding, or how to escape a fire. Third, they are trained to keep you calm. Hearing a calm, authoritative voice can help you manage your own panic. So, unless you are in immediate danger, always stay on the line until responders arrive.
That's very helpful. Let's go back to the intruder scenario. You mentioned describing a weapon involved is critical. What other details are most important for the police when they are on their way? But if there's an intruder, should I really stay on the phone and talk? Isn't it dangerous to make noise?
The key is to give a top-to-bottom description. Start with the most memorable features. For example, he was a tall man wearing a red baseball cap and a black jacket. Then add more details if you can. He had a beard, was wearing blue jeans, and was carrying a backpack. The operator will guide you with questions, but the more details you can provide, the better.
That's a fantastic and often overlooked question, Erika. Your role isn't over, it just changes. Your job now is to be the best possible source of information for the responders who have just arrived on a very chaotic scene. This is the handoff.
That's a very practical way to think about it. It leads me to another question. What about situations that feel like they need some kind of official response but aren't life-threatening? For example, a minor car accident where no one is hurt, but the cars are damaged. Does that still warrant a 911 call?
A critical safety question. In that specific scenario, you call 911, state your location and the emergency, an intruder is in my house at 123 Main Street, and then you do not hang up. You hide, you stay as quiet as possible, and you leave the line open. The operator will mute their end so no sound comes from your phone, but they can listen to what is happening in the house. This can provide crucial information to the responding officers.
That is an excellent question, and it brings up a really important tool, the non-emergency line. Most police departments have a separate phone number for situations that are not life or death. A minor car accident is a perfect example. Other examples would be a noise complaint about a loud party or reporting a minor theft that happened yesterday. Calling the non-emergency number keeps the 911 lines open for true emergencies. You can find this number on your local police department's website. I recommend everyone save it in their phone's contacts right now.
This is so helpful, Tony. So after we've successfully navigated the 911 call, what happens next? What should we do or say when the ambulance or police car finally arrives? Is our job done? This is so helpful, Tony. So after we've successfully navigated the 911 call, what happens next? What should we do or say when the ambulance or police car finally arrives? Is our job done?
That's a fantastic and often overlooked question, Erika. Your role isn't over, it just changes. Your job now is to be the best possible source of information for the responders who have just arrived on a very chaotic scene. This is the handoff. Okay, Erika, we've covered the theory. Now it's time for practice. The best way to overcome fear is through preparation. Welcome to the simulation lab. I will be the 911 operator. You are the caller. Are you ready? First, if you can do so safely, make yourself visible. Wave your arms, turn on porch lights, or stand by the curb. Help them find the exact location quickly. When they arrive, the first thing paramedics will want to know is the chief complaint. This is the main reason you called. For example, he was clutching his chest and collapsed.
I'm nervous, but yes, let's do it. So I should repeat the key information I gave to the 911 operator.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
Exactly. And then you provide any known medical history. This is crucial. The acronym to remember is SAMPLE. S for signs and symptoms, A for allergies, M for medications, P for past medical history, L for last oral intake, what they last ate or drank, and E for events leading up to the incident.
Help! My father, I think he's SAMPLE. That's a great mnemonic. So I could say, he has a known allergy to peanuts, he takes blood pressure medication, and he had a heart attack 5 years ago. He just ate lunch about an hour ago and was watching TV when he collapsed. That's a lot of information.
Pause. Erika, what's the very first thing? The operator asked for the address. And every piece of that information is vital. It helps the paramedics make treatment decisions immediately. If you don't know the answers, that's okay. Just tell them what you do know. The same principle applies to police. If you reported an intruder, they will want a description, top to bottom, gender, race, approximate age, height, weight, hair color, and clothing.
Right. Location. Okay, let's try again.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
My address is 455 Pine Street. My father has collapsed. He's not breathing.
Okay, help is on the way to 455 Pine Street. Is he on his back? I'm going to tell you how to do chest compressions. Stay on the line with me. And scene. Perfect. See how that works? Location, nature of emergency, status. You gave the two most important key words, collapsed and not breathing. You did it perfectly.
Now, for our listeners, we're going to do a shadowing exercise. This builds muscle memory for your brain and your mouth. In a moment of panic, you will have this phrase ready. I will say a critical phrase. There will be a 3-second pause for you to repeat it aloud, and then I will say it again. Let's practice together. Erika, you can do it with us. My address is 123 Main Street. Send an ambulance. My address is 123 Main Street. Send an ambulance. My address is 123 Main Street. Send an ambulance. Excellent. Let's do one more simulation. This time, a car accident. 911, what is the address of your emergency?
I'm at the corner of First Avenue and Elm Street. There was a car accident. A man is bleeding heavily from his head.
Fantastic. You gave a clear location with cross streets, and you used the medical keyword bleeding heavily. Help is on the way. Now let's practice our second critical shadowing phrase. This is for the most urgent medical situation. Repeat after me. He is not breathing. I need help now. He is not breathing. I need help now. He is not breathing. I need help now. Great work. Now let's try a fire emergency. Remember the key word. 911. What is the address of your emergency?
There's a fire at my apartment building, 722 West Elm Street. I see black smoke coming from the apartment across the hall. Apartment 3B. I think my neighbor is trapped inside. Tony, that was intense, but I feel so much more confident now. The fear came from not knowing what to say. Now I have a script in my head. Location, nature of emergency, and status. The practice really makes a difference.
Exactly right. You gave a precise address, you described the smoke, and you used the keyword trapped. That single word elevates the call to a top priority rescue. Now let's practice the shadowing phrase for a fire.
And that is our goal. to give you a plan so you can act effectively even under stress. So for all our listeners, here are your key takeaways. First, always give your location first. Second, use specific keywords for medical, fire, or police emergencies to communicate the threat level. And third, stay on the line with the operator. We encourage you to practice saying your own address out loud.
There's a fire and someone is trapped inside. There's a fire and someone is trapped inside. Okay, last one. This is the most complex. You're driving on the highway. Let's put all the pieces together. There's a fire and someone is trapped inside.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
I'm on Interstate 10, heading westbound, just past mile marker 92. There's been a multi-car accident. A truck has overturned and is blocking the middle lanes. One car is on fire. It looks like people are injured and trapped in their vehicles.
This is the one episode we hope you never have to use, but you must be ready for. Thank you for joining us on Speak English with Erika and Tony. Subscribe to our channel to join the 60-day fluency journey.